Since the return of democracy in Nigeria in 1999, the political landscape has been dominated by a few politicians within a specific age demography. Over the years, the same old politicians have risen to become the political godparents of Nigeria.
So let's assume that this is a company that I'm running, and I'm CEO. If somebody wants to do something, he has to get my buy-in, he has to get the buy-in of the board of directors or the management team, depending on what the structure is. So no matter how talented or good the idea is, the person has to get the buy-in of myself and the management team or the board of directors. So if you take that same approach to politics, there are people who have invested time, resources to build a structure that you want to leverage on. I think we have to be realistic to say that they probably have their own interests as to how they wanted to make this thing work.
Their influence is not only seen but felt in almost all sectors of Nigeria's life, from politics to education, economy, and more. But have they managed the socio-political development of Nigeria well? On that premise, many have called for a change of guard or introduction of a political structure that allows newcomers, especially young Nigerians.
It is suicidal for political parties not to accede to our request. The National Assembly tried it, they saw the consequence. The Presidency almost tried it, they saw the consequence. Do not take the Nigerian youth for granted. Yes. Do not take us for granted. Yes. We will not take arms against the state because we are patriotic citizens. We believe in our democracy, but we will assert our sovereignty through the ballot. Yes, and so we urge all political parties, if you don't give youth tickets, if you don't reduce the cost, be rest assured that young Nigerians will go to the polls and they will vote you out.
That agitation led to the signing into law of the Not Too Young to Run bill, which allowed young Nigerians to actively participate in politics and vie for elective offices. But is this enough?
Our politicians need to be put in a room and told that they have produced a miserable situation that is not worthy of the young people that hold them responsible for their fate. It is not a good thing, and I believe that the conversation about our politics has to be a conversation around the quality of politics that we play on our continent.
You know, I started this campaign like 2-3 years ago. I said, Amumu don't do. I discovered, say, Amumu never really do. He never bellyfoot some people. Then I had to shift gear, go back to the drawing board, and I came up with, now we be government. Because the average youth in this country, one, is disappointed with leadership, has no faith in the country or its leadership. They've given up. They see those people in government houses as their lord and masters. And I'm saying no. It's a mumu way of thinking, because those people, they're supposed to be servants, civil service servants. Because if a slave does not understand that he or she is a slave, how can he be talking, or she or he be talking about freedom? So they need to understand, that's the young people, they need to understand that the office of the citizen is more important than the office of the president. Once they can get that into their psyche, then they should be all right. You know what kill Nigeria? We think kill Nigeria, especially as it's affecting the youth, is my thief better pass your own thief. So as long as my person is in power, Nigeria is good. But when is your person in power? Oh, I start to complain. But we have not agreed that a thief is a thief and there should be penalty, consequences. No, that is why everybody's getting away with murder.
The challenge of that is because of structural issues. It's much more difficult to create a party and win with a new party or a party full of young people, so to speak. So your options are now, okay, how can I get into this set system that already exists? And how can I create a power base for myself that people that are there either respect the power that I bring or the influence that I bring or what I bring to the table, that they listen to me, or I find other ways. So I think that for us to achieve what we want to achieve, let us first understand Nigeria or the world for what it is first. Because if we understand what we're dealing with, then we can be able to find solutions that work. So if you go into a party as a young person, then you have to do the work of, delegates are not spirits, they are human beings. So you have to do the work of building bridges with those people, building alliances, relationships. And if you have the right power base, then no matter who the godfathers are, they're going to call you, and then you're going to have a reasonable discussion. Of course, in reality, there may be situations where things will not go your way. But I think that we have to be realistic that if you are trying to take an establishment on, everything is not going to go your way. So you have to think about practically, how are we going to achieve this? And the best example to use is, it's not really about young people. I'll use the Ashiwaju example. For somebody who, by all accounts, was in the frame of bringing together this current APC party, as it were, getting the nomination of that party, even with what he said he had done and what third party people had said he'd done, wasn't a cakewalk. Because there were other interests that wanted something different. So if somebody of that level, of that distinct, has to fight his way to get to what he wants to achieve, I think that we also have to decide that, look, this is not going to be a walk in the park, this is not cakewalk. We have to do whatever is required, even if it means talking to other young people, getting together a financial base to help our campaigns. But we must bring things to the table that the other side will respect.
What then are the factors limiting young people from voting to elect candidates of their choice or daring to run for elective offices?
It was made to shock Nigerians into submission because we are living in a very conservative environment, and to say to people, you can be whosoever you choose. Be it. Be your authentic self and never let anybody kill your dreams.
The way that the average person on the street perceives how the elections work is different from how the politicians perceive how elections work. Politicians are very, to use the word, very real about what happens. Before the use of the bimodal voter accreditation system, which is the BVAS that we just started using, I think maybe 2021, it's possible for somebody to be in a room, start to thumbprint stuff and make things happen. It's possible to bring people who don't have PVCs, for example, mobilize them to a place and get them to vote. So the people have seen people that they think should win, not win. And so in their own estimation, they think that no, this doesn't look like a fair system. It looks like a rigged system.
According to the United Nations Age Index, a young person is between the ages of 15 and 24. The African Youth Charter puts it at 15 to 35 years, while others peg it at 15 to 29 years. In Nigeria, this age demography makes up about 16.8% of the country's total population. But only a few number of them participate in voting. Out of that number, only about 2.05 million youths have completed their voter registration as at the 7th of February 2022. This is according to a data from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC.
We developed that brand to shock timid, myopic, analogish, Mongo-packish, last year Nigerians out of their way of thinking. You know, Nigerians think that somebody who is frustrated is somebody who can't feed themselves or who can't pay their bills. No. The rich are also frustrated when things cannot move accordingly, when there's no process, when it's just, you don't know what, you can't plan for yourself because you don't know what's going to happen the next hour. You can get out of your house, you can get killed. You don't die for nothing, no. Nobody cares. The court is not working. You can't go to the law court and say you're looking for justice. Where you won't find out. It's to the highest bidder. So we're all frustrated with this.
According to report by the Youth Initiative for Advocacy, Growth and Advancement, YAGA, on the 2019 elections, 51.11% of the total registered voters in the country were youths. Out of this, only about 46.3% of the total registered youth voters, which is about 19 million, voted in the 2019 elections. According to a research on voter participation by a group, Run to Win in Lagos, 21% of youth aged 18 to 25 own a permanent voter card, PVC, while 79% do not. 73% of people aged 26 to 35 own PVCs, while about 27% do not. In Cross River State, the survey focused on Calabar Municipality and Yaka local government areas, shows that out of 450 youths that participated, 86% aged 18 to 25 own a PVC, while about 14% do not.
Found out that there are a lot of places where PVC collection rate, or PVC, people who have PVCs, the number of people who have PVCs is very low amongst young people. And even, for example, if you look at our study, it says that in Lagos, of the 500 people that we surveyed, 21% of Gen Zs are the ones that have PVCs. With millennials, it's much higher than that. It's about 73%. So the first problem is really, do you have PVCs? The second problem, which I think is even the major problem that people have not addressed, is that our main problem is turnout rather than PVCs. Because if you compare that with, say, the data that we've seen in Cross River, about 84% of the people that we surveyed, the 500 people that we surveyed, of young people who are in that Gen Z category also, have PVCs. So while it's low in Lagos, it's much high in Cross River. And probably if you juxtapose that into many states, maybe in the north, it's probably going to be very high numbers of people who have PVCs. The real question is, if you look at even our, the real problem is if you look at the for that election. So the real problem we have is turnout. To now fully answer your question, why don't people turn out for for elections. Our study says primarily the biggest problem is that people don't believe that the votes matter.
A further study showed that voter apathy was the major reason for their lack of privacy or interest in the process.
And people saying that even before these systematic changes, your vote matters, because if you break it down practically, if there are 400 people that are supposed to be accredited in a polling unit, for example, I'm just using the number out of thin air, 400 people. If 300 people show up and vote, it means that even if somebody wants to play hanky-panky with it, you are only limited to 100 votes. What happens traditionally is that turnout is so low that we give them so much room to make things happen, and that's the genesis of it. So I'm even saying this is when structural changes are being made. Now it's much difficult for somebody who, because of the way that Beavers works, who has not been accredited in that place to vote. At least we want to believe that that's what's going to happen in these elections. So if it wasn't important, I don't think politicians would spend all their time, their energy trying to get people to vote for them. They wouldn't do campaigns if it was so straightforward. They would just go and sleep and wake up on election day.
I would ensure that this same team gather back again after the
election. That would be nice.
Oh, I will make sure.
Armed with this information, I decided to have a conversation with 3 young Nigerians on what I called the political table. They are Ayodele Adio, political and communication strategist; Olaima Okpara Signature, the convener of Win Nigeria; and the only lady on the table, Omolora Busola Taiwo, a social activist and digital marketer. Of course, they did not disappoint.
You deleted his tweet, yes. No, you deleted his tweet because
Has anybody been
did Peter Obi even talk about it?
Has anybody been
Did Peter Obi even talk about it? Did Peter Obi even talk about it at all?
They bared their minds on youth participation in politics in the country.
The truth is, it's a chicken and egg situation. Young people do not see themselves as an outcome of governance. There is nothing in it for them. So why should they come out and queue in the sun to get a PVC to vote for somebody that doesn't care about them? It's a complete waste of time for them. Most of them would rather be in a studio to produce the music, go into photography, watch Big Brother Nigeria, or do something productive with their lives.
The fact that you don't carry stuff to say, oh, you must give me this by force, does not mean you are not using force. Like I said earlier, these guys were once youths and they had what they had by compromise. Like he said, we used to not be interested, now you are interested. And then you think being interested now automatically means they are going to give power to you? No, it does not work that way. That's one. Secondly, I'm not one who believes that youth is a reason for you to be a leader. Now, there's a saying I like to say that the wisdom of Solomon is not as a result of Methuselah's age. My point is that the fact that you are young does not automatically translate to you being smart. And the fact that you are old does not automatically translate to you not having a vision for the future. Let's look at the sane societies. How many of them are presidents or leaders or prime ministers who are less than 50? How many?
There's a man who has changed the game, and that's the person giving the youths the hope. And that's why you're seeing the entire surge all around the country, right? Every young person is going to go pick their PVC, not because they believe in this country. Now let me quickly say this. It's not about the time that they go to go pick the PVC. I mean, I'm not interested about if they are going now or if they are going later or if they should have gone earlier. The thing is that we now know the tricks that you all play. We now know that these tricks that you possibly want to blackmail us with is the thing within your own compound, right? So for these young people, we will take charge of our future, not because you have told us how it should be, but because we want to design our own script. And that brings me to the point of infiltration. Because the only story you hear is that you have to be in it. Follow them small, follow them small, and then one day you take it. No. I mean, those are old stories. If you're sounding like that as a young person, it means that you don't understand the fact that the world has evolved. There was a guy who started whatever he started in the garage, and today has taken over the world. I mean, many years ago, if you're saying you're 20 years old and you're a billionaire, everybody would doubt you. But today, there are a whole lot of means and alternatives. The same way, whoever believed that this consciousness was seen on the youth, in the youth, is ever going to be possible, they didn't know that there was social media coming. They didn't know that beyond the fact that we need to go to all of these places, there was another level of community, and this community lives in the tech world, right? So the point essentially is that things have changed. And when young people talk because they belong to this political party and don't understand that things have changed, then it becomes very funny.
The idea that you can focus on winning elections over a 2-year cycle is as delusional as it gets. And you primarily have to be in it for a long haul. Because if you take, for instance, the two presidential candidates of both political parties have been contesting elections since 1992. That's about a 30-year period. And you think you're going to be able to displace them in 2 years. It's not going to happen. And so I think young people must first have the orientation to play long in the game. And bid your time while building the necessary democratic values that you want to espouse when you eventually get into government, when you eventually get into office.
We live in a division here that because I am young, then that automatically means somebody should support me. No. You have to show your workings. You have to show me that I am worth it. And showing it is not what to start in 1 year.
Where then lies the solution to get more young Nigerians to develop interest in politics? And where does our answer lie?
Listen, how this revolution or this change that we so desperately need, how it's going to come, nobody can tell you how. Because it will be something that we never expected. Even the likes of, start to name all the activists in this country. You go see, say, waiting them don't do or wait what they are doing will be small compared, will be insignificant compared to what is about to happen to us. And will be all engineered by young people. I'm sure the elderly ones, or those who have perpetuated themselves, you know, who are responsible for our predicament. Nobody's lazy youths, nobody's people. What can they do? We have the money, we can buy anybody, we can do it as we like. I don't think so.
With about a week to end the continuous voter registration by INEC for the 2023 elections, a court has mandated the Commission not to end it yet. Data from INEC shows that the number of registered young Nigerians between the ages of 18 and 35 has doubled compared to the figure of 2015. While that is encouraging, the number of collected permanent voter cards (PVC) is still low. Observers are rather worried that the number of votes cast on election day from the same age complete the cycle by voting on election day.